Hey everyone, this is Heidi St. John. Thanks for tuning in today. You guys have found me right here at my little corner of the internet. This is the Heidi St. John podcast. And today my guest is Dr. Mark Sherwood. We are going to spend the next 40 minutes or so answering listener questions. It's going to be straight fire. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. So my friend, Dr. Mark, welcome back to the show. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. You doing okay?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good considering that the world is on fire. I mean, goodness, look what happened a couple of days ago with President Trump. And I mean, come on. I think there's a lot of people who are feeling there's a shift happening. Are you feeling it?
I am, and I got to tell you, that brought back a lot. I don't know if you knew this. I was a police sniper back in the day.
That's right. I forgot.
It really freaked me out because the position that those two snipers in the video were, you don't make yourself a target by sitting up like that. That was like a bizarre situation for me. I was never, in all of my years of deployment, and I have been partnered up with the Secret Service and dignitary protection events before, and they actually did pretty good. But that was a lot of inexperience, in my opinion. You just don't do that. And frankly, the idea about having to get somebody talk to you about saying you have permission to take the shot, that's not how law enforcement works. If you see someone with a gun pointing at you,
you take the shot. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to ask anybody. You are given that opportunity just because of the duty with which you've sworn to entrust and be entrusted. So I was shocked by the whole darn thing, and I'm really grateful that President Trump's okay. That was a miracle, and I'm grieved by it all because when I look at that and I see that from my background and my expertise, I'm thinking, I hate it for the young man too. What a bad decision.
Yeah.
But that should have been ended before it started. When you got the citizens pointing out a shooter on the roof with a gun.
It's weird, right? There's just so many. I mean, I'm trying not to go all conspiracy theory on everybody, but it's weird. I saw a video of another guy, trained sniper, and he was like, dude, that whole thing was messed up. He said the Secret Service, they come in there weeks ahead of a presidential visit. They case the whole place out, and yet they are somehow, this 20-year-old kid who lives in his mother's basement was able to get up onto a flat roof and get a clear shot. How in the world did that even happen?
Well, you're right. The Secret Service comes in, weeks before, and they sort of surveil the area to look for places where they can gain high ground. They want high ground cover, So, and that building was flat. It was not obscured by any bushes or anything like that. So to have someone in plain sight is ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And every sniper has a spotter with him. The spotter is trained out there. They've got a rifle too, but they're trained to watch around. They're trying to help you see, and you're helping look around. So you got basically 4 eyes better than 2.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know that I think this is going to take a shift. The whole election, I think, has just massively shifted. I read a little statement from Bill Maher, who obviously, this guy is a committed leftist, a liberal, classic liberal, probably. I wouldn't call him a leftist, but a classic liberal. And he said, listen, Joe Biden can't make it through a debate, but a bullet can't stop Donald Trump. I just think the Democrats are in absolute disarray. They're just imploding over there. And we saw he has appointed J.D. Vance as his vice president, which I think was a pretty good pick. And I think it's a solid pick. I was a little surprised by it, but not too much. I think it's looking good for him now. I mean, thank God. If he'd have been, 1 millimeter the other direction, we'd be having a whole different conversation right now.
Yeah, and the guy, I can tell you, from using an AR-15 myself, which the sniper was using, that's not the most accurate weapon in the world.
Yeah.
It's fine, but from 100 yards, pretty good. Anything beyond that, it gets a little bit quirky.
Yeah.
And because I've shot those guns many times, and, this was a kid. So
what in the world?
It was a bad shot.
Yeah. And obviously the loss of life and the other people who died or were injured. It's just, the whole thing is just terrible. It's just terrible. It's a terrible, sad moment for our country.
Yep.
Absolutely. The country's in trouble. I mean, we're in trouble because we got Joe Biden in the White House. And, and then we see this kind of mayhem break out at a political event is just, and I've said this before, and I just want to remind our listeners, this is a spiritual battle, and you cannot win a spiritual battle using a worldly weapon. And so we got to stop fighting with I'm not talking about the shooter either. I'm just talking about people who, we spend a lot of time chatting, talking about it like you and I are doing here. Nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, we need to be praying for our nation and employing the weapons that God says moves heaven into action.
You know what I hope happens in this, and it might sound a little weird, but I really hope that Donald Trump realizes that his life was spared only by the hand of God.
Yeah.
I hope he understands that, and I hope there's a real knowledge of God there, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope for that man that he'll be on his knees praying
Yeah, me
and
too.
thanking God that he's got another day to even talk at the RNC. And
Yeah.
I hope that the people that saw that would have the same experience too. That only by the hand of God is life preserved, and only by the hand of God is life even salvaged.
Yeah.
And then I think about the persons that lost their life. That could have been Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So there was blood that day, lives lost that day,
Yeah. Yeah.
inexcusable. And
Dude, I was in Hawaii. We were waiting actually to catch a plane home, and my friend Steve called and said, "Are you watching the news?" And I'm like, "No, dude, I'm watching the ocean."
yeah, all right.
And he's like, "You need to watch the news. Donald Trump's been shot." And for just a second, I mean, I felt like for me, just not knowing the outcome, and all I heard was Donald Trump's been shot. I just thought this is going to be chaos for our country. Never mind the fact that he has children and a wife and a family. He's
Oh,
just a human being at the end of the
yes,
day.
yes, yes.
But the chaos that was I mean, it was not only a mercy for Donald Trump that he did not die that day, it was a mercy for our country. It was a mercy for
Indeed,
our country.
indeed, and we need to get our head together and our act
Hmm.
together because we're not right now. And I hope that throughout this whole process, we realize that you can't trust in a man. You got to trust in God. I hope
Yeah.
that's the overriding theme that comes out
Yeah,
of this
that's right.
idea. Really,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, I do too. All right, you ready to jump into some questions? Because it's been a little while since you've been on the
Yeah, yeah.
show, and I say we jump into it.
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to start with Sarah in Kentucky. Hey, Sarah. She said she was diagnosed with fatty liver, and she's going back for a follow-up in September. She said she's had swollen lymph nodes for over a year in her armpits, and she's had ultrasounds and mammograms. They all say it's not cancerous. She says, I've also now been diagnosed with diabetes. I'm doing my best to stay away from medications with life changes. I've been on progesterone for about a year, bioidentical. APRNs I've seen don't seem to be considered with or maybe she must mean concerned with my lymph nodes that are swollen, but I believe there has to be a reason. Is there anything I can do with my diet or something I need to ask the provider to look for?
Well, Sarah, yes. Let me just tell you right now, the fatty liver is connected to the type 2 diabetes. And so when you reverse one, you reverse the other one. So let me just give you some quick rundown, Sarah, on what you can do. You can start eating an anti-inflammatory diet. I'm just going to explain that to you, Sarah. And if you'll do this for me, I'm telling you right now, you'll see that reversed in about 30 to 60 days. That's a bold claim. I want you to consume only above ground non-root vegetables. Above ground non-root vegetables. I don't know your situation intimately, but I would say for right now, hold the fruit. So above ground non-root vegetables and good clean protein. If that's what you'll eat, no dieting allowed, just unlimited right there, you will get that reversed. Okay? The second part of that question with your lymph nodes, the lymph tissue surrounds our cells. It's kind of like a secondary filtration product for waste material, but it doesn't have a circulation system. So you have to move to make it move. This might sound funny, but if you can get one of those little jumpers, like a little trampoline in your house, and start bouncing on that every day, just 10 minutes, Sarah, that's all I'm
It's a
asking.
game changer.
That will win. You'll get that lymph to move, you'll get it to drain, and doing these two things, you will reverse your type 2 diabetes. You'll get that liver that was once fatty, not fatty, and you'll be having a wonderful life.
When you say good, clean protein, what do you mean?
Well, I use the buzzwords wild caught, free range, grass fed, grass finished, organic. That's the kind of the buzzwords. I don't mean like a fried chicken nugget or something like that.
Okay.
No, no, none of that. And don't eat, garbage. So if you just kind of keep it in the wheelhouse, there are more natural foods. That's an easy one. I was dealing with a person just today that did this very thing, and in 2 months she's down 30 pounds. Now, uh, everybody's different about this. You don't have to be overweight to have type 2 diabetes. That's not the point. It's not about
Hmm.
weight gain or weight loss, but you can reverse this.
That's good. It's important. And I think just the encouragement. I mean, you're back here just dealing hope like you always do. I love it. Anonymous in California. Are there negative long-term side effects to getting a tubal ligation? This is my fourth baby, fourth C-section, and it's not my best interest health-wise to have additional children. So we're looking for a God-honoring, safer birth control.
Well, there's not going to be a negative per se. It's different than getting your tubes tied. But the bottom line is there is some side effects. Namely, you can gain weight. You can't get pregnant, but you can gain weight. Gaining weight can actually hurt you with the idea of gaining more inflammation. So, if you do that, Anonymous in California, you really got to make sure that you're led. Like pay attention. I don't know your age or anything like that, but there's
Mm-hmm.
always protection you could use, right?
Mm-hmm.
During the time, because if you're up in your 40s or 50s or so, it's getting close to the time where you wouldn't have salvageable eggs anymore. So you
Mm-hmm.
could use protection for a while and maintain the integrity of your organ systems, perhaps, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's options out there. You want to be really led by the Lord in what to do with that. Don't operate out of panic and fear. And also at the same time, if you do go there, you need to make sure your lifestyle is on point so you don't get undue weight gain.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important. I had a really good friend who had 8 C-sections, dude.
Wow.
And she's just doing great. She's had 8 Cs. I think the main thing, I'd love to have a conversation sometime about birth control too and how it's hurting women. And, we have not, when I was a lot younger, 18 years old is when I got married at 19, went on birth control right before I got married. And I'm telling you what, it just was like, oh yeah, of course, you've gone birth control. Nobody told us,
Mhm.
hey, this isn't actually good for you. This is messing up your biology, or it's messing up your hormones. And we need to start having better conversations about what is healthy and what isn't. Right?
Yeah, this is fascinating. I'll just give a quick food for thought on that topic. I know it wasn't really in response to a question, but it's interesting. Birth control is given out like candy to little girls,
Yep.
but it's the same hormone that they tell you not to take when you're menopausal because it creates cancer.
Right.
Isn't that something fundamentally wrong with that? The second part of that is this is shocking. When these fake estrogens or fake progesterones are done in your body, they're filtered out through your detox system and they end up in the stool, in your toilet, in your water. And they're not always filtered out of all your city waters. So they're in there. And today you're seeing a great femininity in
Yep.
this world. This is
Yep.
exactly why there's a connection there.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So we should probably just have an entire conversation about that sometime, because I think this is the younger generation of women. I mean, I've talked to my daughters. I don't want
Yeah.
them on birth control. I'm like, you guys, come on. It's not good for you. And yeah, wow. So many things. This is kind of along the similar lines. This another anonymous listener in Michigan. She says, Dr. Mark and Heidi, thank you for all that you do. Well, you're welcome.
Hmm.
I was excited a few months ago to find out I was pregnant with our fifth baby. Unfortunately, I miscarried at 7 weeks. I'd like to try again, but I'm 40 and wondering if there's anything I should do or take at this age to have a better chance at a successful pregnancy. I'm in good health. I try to eat well.
Yeah, Anonymous in Michigan, there is some things you can do. The main reason for a person to have a miscarriage in the first trimester is maybe a twofold one. Not enough thyroid, not enough progesterone. You have to have that progesterone to sort of cover up that fertilized egg in that first trimester. And many times as you begin to age and get into that kind of quasi perimenopausal time, which is about 15 years prior to menopause, menopause being averaging about 50 or 51, which you're right there, you're going to see a decline in those things. So you want to get your thyroid checked and your progesterone checked and get those to a normal or optimal range. And then you should be okay having the idea that you have viable eggs and you're still going to be fertile.
That's great. Young listener, she's in her early 20s, and she says that her hands shake. It's more pronounced on one side than the other, and she's wondering what she should do. She said it doesn't seem to be affected when she's resting, only when she's trying to move.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a obviously a tremor type of condition could be driven by a lot of different angles. The first thing that I would do for young folks, I'd say, are you drinking coffee and
Yeah.
caffeine because that will stimulate it. Sometimes energy drinks will. Sometimes inflammatory foods will. So I would think that from that angle of what you're bringing in would be a concern or a subject of discussion. And then I would also increase your amounts of omega 3s. I would bring in about 3 grams of an omega 3s. I like Bio Omega 1000. I'd bring in about 450 milligrams of magnesium glycinate, 150 milligrams in the morning, 300 milligrams at night. And then I would bring in, make sure my vitamin D is really up to snuff too. So that would be 5,000 IUs of D. And I would do that like right now and see what happens to those tremors with the idea that that would cause them to be less frequent and less severe.
All right, that's a great answer. Brittany in Pennsylvania says her husband, who's 41, took a testosterone slash estradiol saliva test. He's on the lower end of normal testosterone, but the higher end of normal for estradiol. His mood fluctuates drastically. What do you suggest?
Yeah, Brittany, this is an interesting one because as men get lower testosterone, it has been associated with quicker death. Now, I'm not saying your husband's going to die, but I'm saying you want to make sure that testosterone is adequate because men need that to protect bones, brain, and heart. That's important. Testosterone can convert downstream via an enzyme called aromatase. Aromatase converts testosterone into estradiol. So that's where estradiol comes from testosterone. In your husband, we've got to figure out why he's getting so much conversion. Many times that's driven by sugars, which drive insulin, which drive that conversion quicker, and estradiol can promote a lot of weight gain. And once that gets rolling like that, it can create a heck of a mood swing too, because the belly fat goes up and the mood goes down. You can have fluctuations from weepiness to shortness. And so that sounds like what he's experienced. I think with that situation, I'd highly recommend him reaching out to someone and getting that ratio flipped around immediately through any means of possible that's sort of dialogue with the practitioner, and that would be a big old help.
Similar question came in from an anonymous listener in Indiana. It says she has been on estrogen for many years and she wants to stop taking it. She wonders how to do that. Do you stop cold turkey? Do you have to wean off it? Is there a natural supplement that would help with vaginal dryness if she stops taking it?
Yeah, there is natural substances that can help with vaginal dryness. You can get a compounded cream with estriol, which is a form of estrogen, but it's not estradiol. It is not proliferative. So you get estriol cream. You can compound that with maybe a DHEA, which is big old word, dehydroepiandrosterone, and those can be put into a compound. Vaginal application twice a week works like a champ. Amazing, works awesome. You don't have to really stop titrating off of estradiol. You can get right off it if you want to. But also know that estradiol, as the hormone is protective against heart disease, brain disease, and bone disease as well. So you want to get really some good information on that because bioidentical estradiol is considered protective. Synthetic estrogen, which is not estradiol, would be not protective. That would be dangerous. So there's a lot of variables there, but you can use that cream for vaginal dryness.
Anonymous in California says, hi, guys. What is your thoughts on grounding? What are your thoughts on grounding, the process of connecting with the Earth's electrical energy? It sounds kind of new agey, but she says, what say you? And I told you in the pre-show today, I'm fascinated by this. I think the science is actually pretty robust on it. And I've noticed now they've got, grounding sheets. In fact, I got a little grounding mat and put it underneath my feet when I'm doing a podcast. I haven't brought it in because I'm packing my house up right now. But I'm interested in the science of this. What say you?
Well, Anonymous in California, you're in a great state for this because you got that thing called the ocean there, right?
Come
The
on.
best grounding you can get is right there on that beach with that salt and the salt water. You can walk out in your backyard and put your feet on the grass or on the dirt and feel that. There is something to it. The science is there, and it does provide, get this, a release of free radicals. Free radicals being those things that build up in your body, those waste products from your energy capacitors. and they create intracellular inflammation. So you do get a de-escalation of that buildup of waste products. And so that's why people go to the beach. And it's not just a myth. You do feel better. And
Yeah.
that's exactly why.
Come on. I love that. Did I tell you I went snorkeling when we were in Hawaii?
No, that had to
I
be so fun.
I did, and I'll tell you what. So I'm standing in, out in the surf, and I'm not actually. I'm kind of scared of the ocean, girl. Like I'm not gonna get out too far because I know there are tiger sharks out there. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a baby, so but I'm standing there, and we see all these green sea turtles, and they're a little bit farther out, and my kids were out, snorkeling and whatever. And I said to the Lord, I'm standing in the surf. I was probably maybe 4 feet in. And I was like, Lord, thank you for letting me spend a little bit of time in your giant aquarium. Like
Oh,
it's
I
pretty
love it.
amazing. Like, all these incredible fish. And I was like, Lord, the Bible says that you spoke and the wind and the waves obey. And so, Lord, I know you can speak to your creatures. And if you just bring a sea turtle right up to me, I would just think that was the most amazing thing. Lord, you can call him by name. Call me up one that's a little bit bored today and wants a
Yeah.
visit, And I just talking to the Lord. And then I, forgot that I had said that and looking at my kids. And all of a sudden, Mark, I looked down and the biggest sea turtle I have ever seen. I mean, I was like 4 feet out, right up next to me. I mean, it swam around, it's Hawaii. You're not supposed to touch him. So I wasn't touching him, but I'm telling you what, he stayed next to me for probably 3 minutes. Swam
Wow.
around me, swam up to the kids, and I was just like, I love that the Lord answers prayer. And he does. He calls these animals by name, and just what an amazing thing it is to be at the ocean and just to be reminded that God owns it all. He owns it all.
Do you realize, and a lot of people, if we've never thought about this, think about this. The earth was destroyed with water. And of course, every living thing on the
Yes.
earth died. And the birds, obviously, where are they going to go? What are they going to eat?
Yeah.
But everything in the sea was not. So what you're seeing in the ocean was originally created by God, which is like, whoa.
So
So you're getting
amazing.
a glimpse of the excellence of God when you see the ocean and all the creatures there that probably have yet to be discovered.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I mean, just I did just so I could make some memories with my husband and our three youngest kids. I went snorkeling several times, really just out of my comfort zone.
Hmm.
There is nothing that even comes close to sticking your face in the water and seeing the I mean, it just defies description. It just to see the colors and the shapes and the just
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I several times while we were in Hawaii, I just was like, Lord, thank you. You cannot help but marvel at the creativity and the amazing, awesome power of God when you're in an environment like that. You just can't. So I love that you just told this woman, you want to get grounded? Go put your feet in the
Yeah.
ocean.
It will make a huge difference.
Come on. What
Absolutely.
do you think about like the ground? So now they've got everything out there, right? You get on
Yeah.
Amazon, you can get grounding mats, grounding sheets, grounding pillowcases. Do you think there's anything to that, or do you think nah, it's a gimmick?
Well, probably about a year ago, I started looking at the research and I bought us a grounding sheet. I
Yeah.
did from
Did it
home.
help?
And I don't know, I don't know if
Yeah.
it helped or not. I mean, but I figure, if it's not going to hurt is kind
Right.
of the angle I took with it. So again, I can't tell you, because we try to take care of ourselves and I get
Right.
asked, did this help? Did you feel anything? I didn't really feel anything, but I didn't feel anything in a negative way.
Yeah.
So the science is there and it just makes a lot of sense. Now, is there some gimmicks out there? I'm sure, but
Yeah.
I can't see a negative behind it at all. I don't see it as
Pardon the
even a
pun. You
religious
can't see
thing.
a
No,
negative behind it. I see what
no.
you're doing. I
Yeah.
see what you're doing.
See where I'm going with that? Can't see a negative behind it. Well, play on words.
Oh, Tara in North Carolina says, can you please talk about the shingles vaccine? I'm 54, perimenopausal, very hesitant to get any vax in the post-COVID craziness, but my doctor thinks I need to get the shingles vaccine. I have autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's, and vitiligo.
Yeah, but
Thoughts
like,
on this for myself and others?
yeah, Terry, you got two autoimmune diseases going on right now, and you take that vaccine, you would want to consider the idea that that's going to spur inflammation. That's by design. What would that do, Tara, to your current autoimmune conditions? It could make them worse. So just think through that a little bit, right? And so, because vaccines, when you take them just willy nilly,
No, they
they're designed,
stimulate your immune system.
they're trying to. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And your
Mm-hmm.
immune system is already turned upside down. If I'm you, Tara, I'm going to work on reversing the antibodies that represent autoimmune disease of the thyroid, that Hashimoto's that you got going. Work on that and really, 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 I'm never going to tell anybody no, but seek the Lord in this idea of should I do this? And my question is for you, Tara, are you scared of getting shingles? I hope the answer is no with that. So
Mm.
think through that because shingles would be an inflammatory condition. So again, inflammation, inflammation, inflammation. I wouldn't bring on any more inflammation in this situation right
That
now.
is solid, solid advice. Stephanie in Michigan, Heidi and Dr. Mark, I'm concerned about pesticides in produce, especially berries. But our current budget does not allow us to buy organic. I've come across various cleaning methods, and I'm wondering if anything actually works to remove toxins from conventional produce, or am I just shortening the life of the berries by soaking them? This is of particular interest to us since our 6-year-old is a cancer survivor. We are trying to limit toxins in our home.
Yeah, Stephanie, sometimes you can't eliminate all toxins. So you need to know that we live in a persistent, organic, polluted world, a pop world, I like to call it, right? So it is what it is. We live in a pop culture right now, and a funny little play on words there. What you can do is you can get some vinegar and water, that famous mix, and you can rinse your stuff in that if you want to. That can help, right? There's a lot of cleaners out there that can help. Is there any guarantee you're going to get it all? No, there's not. Having said that, however, do the best you can on one hand, let God do the best He
Mm-hmm.
can on the other hand, and then you do your part with facilitating good function of your own detoxification systems by eating well, avoiding the negative anti foods out there, which are the processed foods.
When you talk about, so you talk a lot about anti-inflammatory foods, and it's of particular interest, I think, to so many listeners because we are struggling. I mean, the massive struggle that we face, right? It seems like right now in the culture, to me, medically, is inflammation. What are some of the top foods that you're like everybody should be eating? I mean, unless you're allergic to them, everybody should be eating what?
Yeah. Cruciferous vegetables,
Like
broccoli,
cauliflower, broccoli.
flour,
So Mama
kohlrabi.
was right. Eat your broccoli.
Yeah, eat your veggies, man. Veggies are awesome, amazing, multicolored. Fruits are excellent, awesome, incredible. Really, when I look at like anti-inflammatory eating, it can really be defined as this: large variety in its natural, God-given packaging. And if you people just kind of think like that, don't overthink it, and don't buy stuff just because the label says so. Stay on the perimeter of the grocery store and buy produce. And if you'll just do
Mm.
that, I mean, you'll be improving your dietary intake of increasing nutritional density and decreasing unnecessary inflammation, uh, hundredfold just by doing that.
Yeah, yeah. So good. And I think one of the things I that is so great about you and the help that you give is that you're simplifying it. There are so many, I mean, in the age of Google especially, there's so much confusing
Yeah.
information out there. Everybody, we're doing like DIY healthcare now, right? So everybody's doing DIY and it's confusing and there are mixed messages out there. And I think so often what I hear you saying is, hey, don't freak out because I think people live in this and I can get into it too. Like the girl, remember Mark, we answered her question a few weeks ago and she said she'd fallen down the rabbit hole
Oh
and
yeah.
she's all stressed out because she one thing over here and another thing said over there. And I think we can sit and just obsess over our health or we can just exercise and eat healthy. And if we get a diagnosis that's scary, trust the Lord. Do what we can and trust the Lord. And I love that because you're helping people not live in this constant state of fear, which is what we all just lived through, right? In COVID.
Oh, I just was talking to a lady today, and I had given her, we'd given her as a clinic assignment to do certain things, A, B, C, and D, and she'd been all over Dr. Google and hadn't
That's
done
the
any of
thing.
it.
That's well,
And
I
she,
do it too.
I'm
I do
scared of
it.
that. I was like, stop, stop,
Yeah,
stop.
yeah, yeah.
Where does fear come from? So you're right about that.
Yeah, I do it too, and I just think, boy, the enemy's having a field day with regard to fear in
Yes.
the culture right now. It's so true. Donna in Pennsylvania says, "Thank you for being such a light in the darkness and speaking the truth. Some years ago, I needed a full hysterectomy because of endometriosis. Daily, I take estradiol in order not to go into surgical menopause. I'm 43. Can I do or take anything naturally to ditch the estradiol? So we're having a lot of questions this
Yeah.
week about replacement therapy, hormone replacement.
Well, Donna, as a general rule, if you've had a total hysterectomy, you're not going to produce any natural estradiol anymore. And when you go into that position like that, the body is needing that hormone to remain protective against heart, brain, and bone disease. So that's why you were prescribed estradiol. Estradiol has been shown to enhance and that current protection I spoke of into perpetuity as long as you live. The studies are clear on that. What you can't do is take a supplement at this point to believe that that's going to generate estradiol, because it won't. And so what I would look at the opportunity is, as I spoke to you just a moment ago about the idea of testosterone, you could take some testosterone, which could effectively convert downstream into some estradiol. So you could actually kind of get around the horn a little bit by taking testosterone. It's not going to be as much, but it would be some. The benefits of having estradiol there, as I spoke of, but the liabilities of not having it, you could have hot flashes, night sweats, eye or skin or vaginal dryness, hair falling out, all that kind of stuff.
Menopause is no joke, man.
No, it's not for
It
sissies, I'm
is.
told.
It is. It is. You are talking to a woman who has been there and done that.
Oh,
It is no joke. And I've talked about this on the show, so it's nobody's big secret. I've said vitamin D changed my life when I
yeah,
realized how low I was on vitamin D. Just that simple. Get a good one. Don't get a junky one. But I take 10,000 units a day still, and it just to keep them up there. What they're supposed to be. That and testosterone cream, which I got after seeing you, which
yeah,
and it's amazing. It's just amazing. And I feel my heart goes out to so many people who there's so much, like we were just talking about a minute ago, you have this whatever, and healthcare is so expensive now, and people don't want to go to the doctor. They don't trust them for lots of different reasons. And so we end up on the internet.
yep.
Right. And I'm just so encouraged, Mark. I hope you are too. Just all these questions that are coming in, and people are wanting to actually take care of the bodies that God has given them. And
Yeah.
I love it. And I love that I've said it a lot, but I haven't seen you for a couple weeks. I'm just so thankful
Yeah.
uh, for your voice. And it's just encouraging me. Sarah in Idaho says that she started seeing a functional medicine doctor, and he has me taking Thyrostim,
Hmm.
which is a mix of vitamins and minerals. It had iodine in it, 150 mcgs. Is this a good and safe amount? Also, should I be taking an omega supplement? You're going to say yes. I can answer that question for you,
Yes,
Sarah.
yes.
I'm not a doctor. I just play one on my podcast. Why is there such controversy around fish oil supplements? Side note, she is almost 38.
Well, Sarah from Idaho, thanks for your question. Thyrostim is a good product, and 150 milligrams of iodine is not an overabundance. I mean, for example, I take 12.5 milligrams of a combination of iodide, potassium iodide, and iodine. So it's not going to hurt you. It sounds like you're taking some nutrients to support thyroid function. So just as a reminder, Sarah, when you take the thyroid function test, you want to test TSH, T4, T3, reverse T3, and your antibodies. So get a complete picture. And most likely you're doing that, but if you're not, make sure you do that. And you want your T3, your free T3, to be somewhere in the threes. That makes sure you're functioning at an optimal capacity, because the thyroid controls metabolism, heart rate, and body temperature. As far as omega 3s, there's a ton of controversy around them, because you don't want to just go to the store and buy an omega 3. That's not the point. Or buy fish oil. That's not the point. What you're looking for is essential omega 3s, such as EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. And you want to get an omega 3 with about a 3-to-2 ratio, EPA over DHA, in a total amount of about 3 grams, which is 3,000 milligrams. And that's really, really important to get it to that ratio. And that's going to further reduce overall body inflammation, going to help with the brain, and it's going to help with your joints as well.
Do you have a brand that you recommend? Because I know people can go to sherwood.tv/Heidi,
Yep.
and you have already kind of taken the guesswork out of some of this stuff. I mean, the ratios, EPA to DHA,
Mhm.
all that. People are going to be, in their cars going, wait, what?
What?
You have this. You've already kind of done the homework, right? And people
Yeah.
can find this stuff at your website.
Yeah, and people need to know that I'm not loyal to any company or any brand. I'm just loyal to what's best. So my wife and I are adamant about that. We don't recommend anything that we're not doing ourselves. Right now, I recommend one called Biomega 1000, Biomega 1000. It's right on the website. The reason I like it is high dose. It's the fastest from catch to capsule that I know. It is from anchovies, small fish, which has less potential mercury buildup, of course. And so the dose on that would be 3 for most people over 12. And they're pretty good sized gel caps if you have a trouble.
That I do hate that. I
They're
have to
big.
say.
They're big.
Because I
You,
have them and I'm just like, what? I'm not a giraffe. Why?
no, they're big.
Why?
Well, I think probably they want to, minimize the capsule amount. So you have to maximize the capsule load.
Yeah.
And just to get a whole gram in there, it's pretty good space. Now, you can go to 500 milligram, you know, gel caps, which are about half the size. They're fine, but you
You
end
got
up
to take
taking
more of it.
six instead of 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I first saw that thing, I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know
That's
about
fun.
that, Mark.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that one.
That might be just pushing the envelope just a little too far. One more question, and then we will have exhausted, well, most of our questions today. Joel in Texas says he has a heel spur. Ouch. With plantar fasciitis, what are some natural remedies you would recommend?
Yeah, Joe, that can be a pain in the bottom side, put it like that, right?
Yes.
So, what I would recommend you do is you got to look at shoes. You got to look at inserts in your shoes for a time. So, that's really important. If you are an exerciser, Joel, consider doing it on a treadmill where you're getting some cushion there, and also maybe consider switching to a bike where you're not getting the compression by hitting a solid surface all the time. That's really important. I think you can also take increasing amounts of omega-3 fatty acids, back to that subject again, which
Uh-oh.
lowers
Uh-oh.
the burden of inflammation. So, Joel, I'm sure that you can swallow gel caps like a big boy. So there you go,
I
man.
gotta tell you, I don't know, Joel. I don't know. I gotta tell you, when my husband saw those big old fish oil, he was like, "Are those suppositories? What the heck?
Oh my
What what
gosh,
is
it's
what is
hilarious.
that your friend Dr. Mark Sherwood's like, Heidi, you could swallow this. I got friends in high places. They swallow these things all the time. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Oh my God,
Sorry.
that's funny.
I'm
Oh my
just,
gosh, that's pretty good.
you're a super fan of Biomega, so you reach out to him and say, we got some pansies in the audience, and they just don't like those giant
I got some
supplements.
liquids that are pretty good though. I've got some liquids that are mango peach, key
I heard about
lime.
that. Who is that? Barclays? Who makes that?
Yeah, that's going to be Designs for Health. That's on our website, DFH. Look up mango peach smoothie, and it's actually pretty good.
There you go. That might be easier for me. I
Yeah, you
mean,
can pour it right in.
I'm trying not to be a big baby on you here, Dr. Mark, but
No,
I
no
mean, come
whining
on.
allowed, man.
You're going to get out your little violin,
I
start
know.
playing it. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
Uh, okay,
yeah, I know.
I see what you're doing. I'll shut up. I see. I get it. I can
No,
read the room.
I'm
I'm
just
fine.
giving you a hard time.
Well, Dr. Mark, it's just been great to have you as always. You are a hope dealer and a national treasure, and I am so thankful to be your friend. So thank you for coming on with me. It's just been a delight to have you.
Well, it's mutual. Thanks always for having me. It's a blessing.
If you guys want more information, and I know you do, check it out. You can go to sherwood.tv/Heidi. You can see Dr. Mark and his team remotely. That's what I have been doing. And you guys know I live in Washington. He lives in Oklahoma, although I'm trying to get him out here. So stay tuned. I'm trying to get him out here. But you can go to sherwood.tv/Heidi. I hope that you will. They're doing amazing work over there at the Functional Medicine Institute. And I know you guys will be encouraged. If you've got questions, we would love to hear from you. And you can go to HeidiSt. John.com/mailbox Monday. That is where you submit those questions if you want them answered here by my good friend, Dr. Mark Sherwood. That is how you do it. Go to HeidiSt. John.com/mailbox Monday. I hope you guys are having a great day. And again, this podcast has been brought to you by my friends over at VidAngel. Watch all the good stuff without the bad stuff by using the filters at vidangel.com. You can get 2 weeks for free. Do it, you guys. vidangel.com/Heidi. Have a great day, you guys, and I'll see you right back here again at the intersection of faith